I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking about 3 reasons why your IVF may have failed. And this is something that I've experienced firsthand. After we had our daughter, we had 3 embryos left over and we went back in and that did not succeed. We had to go on another list for another donor. And then we were lucky enough to have our son. And I speak with couples all the time that have had failed IVF treatments. And so I wanted to take a functional spin on this, what could be missed, what healing opportunities are missed, what we're regularly seeing, and really giving you a plan to move forward to either get pregnant naturally, or if you do need to go for your next IVF, then you can improve your success. So excited for you to listen, and definitely listen to this one with your partner. Take care. Hey there. Thanks so much for listening to the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast. And I've got a favor to ask you. If you are enjoying learning about the functional approach to fertility, consider going to iTunes and rating and reviewing the podcast. This is how it helps the show reach more people that are struggling with infertility, knowing that there's another approach that really can get to the bottom of why it's not working in the first place. So all you need to do is, if you're on the app or the desktop, just go in and consider leaving a 5-star rating and leave a review. And there is step-by-step instructions in the show notes showing you exactly how to do that. So if you can just take a few minutes, just take the few minutes right now. You can pause this recording, come back, leave the review. It would really mean the world to me and help others that are on the fertility journey as well. Take care. Hey there. I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call is for action takers. And really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to FabFertile, FABfertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's FabFertile, FABfertile.com, and click on book a free call. One theme that keeps coming up with the couples in our FabFertile couples coaching program is sleep. Whether it's insomnia, having a hard time falling asleep, waking up at night, or feeling tired when we wake up, sleep is critical for fertility and hormones. And that's why I'm so excited to have Blue Blocks as our podcast sponsor. So we're exposed to blue and green light from our phones, our tablets, our computers, indoor lights, and more. And this exposure impacts our melatonin production. And melatonin is essential for both female and male fertility. It helps determine the frequency and duration of our cycle and impacts sperm. There's lots of blue light blocking glasses on the market, but the ones from Blue Blocks, they've actually compared other popular brands, and Blue Blocks block 100% of blue and green light, while other brands fall short. So I have their sleep glasses. They have red lenses, and the ones I have are a little translucent frame, and they're so stylish and really cool. And so they eliminate 100% of the blue and green light in the 400 nanometer to 550 nanometer range. So this is the exact range that has been shown in clinical studies to disrupt melatonin and negatively impact your sleep. So all you do is wear your sleep glasses after sunset until it's time for bed, and you'll notice improved sleep after just one use. And it's also cool to use when you're flying for managing jet lag. So I got to say, I was a little skeptical about the noticing improvement after one use, but literally I use these glasses and my sleep is actually already pretty good. I used them for one day, and I have to say, after one day, I had the best sleep of my life. I just felt so rested. So these glasses, they ship free and they're tracked for all orders anywhere in the world. And also they have all their frames come in prescription, non-prescription, and reading glasses. Plus you can send in your frames and they'll add the blue light blocking and green light blocking lenses to your frame. So this is an easy hack that you can add to your fertility toolkit. All you do is go to BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com. Use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast at checkout and receive a 15% discount. That's BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast to receive your 15% discount. I didn't need to go to donor eggs. Obviously, I don't regret it. I have beautiful children. I could have done things differently, restored. I was still cycling back in my 20s. I could have looked at my health, the environmental toxins, the stress I was under.
Many women are being told their eggs are too old. That's often merely an assumption that's not based on actual evidence. The reason being that there is no direct test of egg quality. You can't test egg quality.
It's the man who's got a food sensitivity or he has a zinc deficiency.
Like there can be a root cause to these symptoms that are, quote unquote, period problems, that the doctor will pass you a pill without any question of why.
And some part of you knows that if you can reframe your journey from not want to struggle, or if it is struggle, learn how to embrace the struggle. Learn how to embrace it.
Most conditions in the child occur during the 9 months of development. It's the genetic switches are turned on or turned off, and they're pre-programmed. So you are in such a powerful, amazing position to do amazing things for your kids.
Why is IVF the first step? Because we believe it should be the last step. Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, the founder of Fab Fertile and your host. I believe the functional approach is the first step for anyone struggling with infertility, and my aim is to help you get pregnant naturally. Today, we're digging into 3 reasons why your IVF treatment may have failed. So this episode is for you is if you have experienced a failed IVF treatment, you are planning another IVF treatment, you're not sure what to do to optimize your success. So definitely check out episode number 6 for a functional medicine 101 talk, plus a look at some of the tools we use to help couples conceive. And thanks so much for listening. I'm really so thankful that you are here. Make sure you hit subscribe. And if you know someone else who is on the fertility journey, please share this podcast with them. Okay, so we're digging into some reasons why your IVF may have failed. And so first of all, with this, obviously my heart goes out to you with this. I've experienced this firsthand. So we had our daughter with donor eggs, and then a year later we had 2 embryos left over and went in. That transfer failed and had to do a separate donor for our son. And 3 years later we had him. So I know firsthand how devastating it is when you have your hopes up, you're planning for it to work and it doesn't, and you're devastated and not really even sure what to do next. I want to give you some strategies and some tips to help you. So let's talk about what to do here. So reason number 1 why it may have failed. So first of all, physical and mental stressors that were causing inflammation in your body. So we see this all the time, and it's sort of a place where I don't think a lot of people think to look. Because if your body is under attack, it wants to survive, not procreate. And I've talked about this before, but we're going to be talking about it today again. So food sensitivities. A lot of people come to me, tell me they eat a clean diet. When we dig into it, they're actually eating a diet that is not right for them. And so we're having both couples do the elimination diet, and then we will tweak that with food sensitivity testing. And many people are, I think if you're listening to this podcast, I'm hoping that you have done the elimination diet. Check out how and why to do the elimination diet. And that's for you and your partner. Sometimes we do that and we get back, because it is the gold standard to figure out if you have a food sensitivity, to really take those 10 days, reintroduce the foods, and then really mark it down to see how those foods make you feel. Sometimes we're like, it made us feel our digestion could have been off, or we might have been irritable, or maybe had a headache or felt tired. Those are symptoms, and to not bring the food back in and keep it out for 60 to 90 days. And I see a lot of people with the stressors, a physical stressor like a food sensitivity, and a high percentage of the people that we work with, they have not celiac, but non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So when they have gluten, it causes a huge inflammation in their body. And going gluten light, like if you're gluten free and then a couple of times a month you're having some cake at a party, or you're eating some bread, or if you go out, you're not diligent just to make sure that the food you're eating doesn't have gluten, it's causing reaction in your body for weeks and sometimes months. So this is some places where we see people get things wrong on that. So this is causing inflammation in your body. Food sensitivities, dig into that piece. Another thing that we see, reason why it may have failed, we're in the middle of a huge food experiment right now with a lot of our food being sprayed with glyphosate, which is a herbicide linked to infertility and cancer and a whole host of other diseases. So going organic and non-GMO is a must. The very least, if that's cost prohibitive, making sure that you are the dirty dozens of the foods that are the most highly sprayed with glyphosate and pesticides are organic. So you can go to the environmental working group, ewg.org, to check that out. Minimizing those environmental toxins. These are stressors on the body. So environmental toxins, we've talked on the podcast, talking about EMFs. So taking your phone off your dresser, your nightstand. First of all, it's a distraction if you're scrolling through Instagram. Second of all, the electromagnetic frequency radiation that you're being exposed to can impact your fertility, both male and female fertility. And so this is something you want to minimize your exposure. Also, so if we go into the environmental toxin side of things, so the food sensitivity, we see a lot of people having inflammation, food sensitivity, getting that wrong. Organic. I think a lot of people that are listening to this podcast have made the switch to organic. The environmental toxins, a lot of people have switched over their personal care that I'm seeing. So switching to non-toxic personal care, cleaning products, not 100%, but I think maybe 50% or more. So you want to, it's not about going to your cupboard right now and throwing it all in the garbage. It's as each product expires, then you can replace it with a non-toxic option. You can go to the Skin Deep database and check out your products there, and you want to have a rating below 3. So the environmental toxins, looking at your water, making sure you're getting the 8 glasses of water. So many of us are chronically dehydrated. Again, that's a stressor on your body. It's important to get for the sperm to make it to the egg, for the cervical mucus to be hydrated. So, and making sure you're not drinking tap water, again, an environmental toxin. So it's filled with all sorts of contaminants that are endocrine disruptors. So looking at that. Another thing we see all the time are gut infections. So we're doing stool testing, looking at the DNA of your stool and finding couples with passing infections back and forth, such as H. pylori, looking at parasites that we're seeing very regularly, worms, bacterial infections, fungal infections. Typically something's going on in the gut. So a physical stressor. And that's, again, your body's under attack with a gut infection. It wants to survive, not procreate. Again, another reason why your IVF may not have worked. And we see people that are coming to us that have had multiple failed IVFs, spending tens of thousands of dollars, and then we dig deeper. There's always healing opportunities. Also, mental emotional stress too. Like the stress of going through infertility in itself is traumatic. And then there could be also childhood trauma, other traumas that haven't been dealt with. So mental emotional stress, getting honest about your stressors, like really getting support on this. I was kind of the person who was like, I got this. I don't need any help. But really, if you're a person that really pushes forward and is an achiever, you're like, I got this, really encouraging you to reach out for support. That is brave. It's not weakness. It is courageous, and really getting honest about, where am I pushing too much? Where can I ease back into self-care? Because a lot of times we're on this journey and we're very pushing and we're moving forward at a fast pace. And how do we slow down? You're not taking the foot off the gas pedal, but you don't have the gas pedal on, ram to the floorboard. It's moving along, but you're not high speed. And then structural stress, we see a lot of people, they could have a pinched nerve or some sort of misalignment in the body. Also scar tissue or adhesions. If you've had any kind of surgery or if there's been a car accident, looking at any kind of structural stress with physical therapy for pelvic floor, you can look at that as well. So basically the reason number 1 it may have failed are the physical and mental stressors that are causing inflammation in your body, food sensitivities, the environmental toxins we talked about, gut infections, mental emotional stress, things that haven't been addressed, and structural stress. So that's the first reason. And again, this is not to blame anybody and give you this huge list of things you have to do. It's basically for us, because a lot of times we get the information from our doctor and we're told this is what we need to do. And we don't know there's other things for us to look at and to consider. And we kind of have the blinders on. And the functional approach is we're looking at the whole body instead of going to IVF. Most people don't just go straight to IVF. They have done a number of things, but we see a lot of things have been missed, and there's misinformation out there. It's a lot of information. And sometimes people are, you're chipping away in the coal mine, hack, and there you get close to the gold and you turn away. You get self-doubt. You think maybe I'm not doing things right. So just to be able to fine tune this and take a very targeted approach to looking at your whole body, not just the diagnosis that you have. The next one we have, again, so these are healing opportunities that are missed. So we're looking at your blood chemistry. We're doing a blood chemistry review, not to diagnose, but to educate. And we regularly see areas that were missed. So these are looking at your blood chemistry with the reference ranges of functional reference ranges. They're for healthy people, as opposed to conventional medicine is looking at reference ranges, and they're for people with disease. So just the functional ranges will flag it earlier. They're just tighter reference ranges. So we're regularly seeing people, we see this all the time, and it's missed, is thyroid dysfunction. Either people just focusing on TSH, not looking at the full panel, including antibodies. And it could be either undiagnosed Hashimoto's, undiagnosed hypothyroidism, also Graves, as well as subclinical. So it's not actually the thyroid, but the thyroid is off, and it could be off due to other reasons such as gut infections and food sensitivities. So really digging into the thyroid piece, especially if you've been told, oh, your thyroid's normal. Our experience is there's usually like a high percentage of people we work with, there's something going on with the thyroid. Vitamin D, we see a lot of people with very low vitamin D. And, a lot of us, because, if we're, depending on where we live in the world, we may not get enough sunlight, but vitamin D is a hormone, and we're seeing it in the single digits in teens, where it should be from 60 to 80. So if yours is very low, and also for the functional levels, it may be being told it's normal, whereas functional levels, as I say, are 60 to 80 or more. What has been missed there? And it's good to supplement, good to get your levels checked regularly with your physician. But why is it low to begin with? What's been missed? Is it an autoimmune disease? Not to say if your vitamin D is low, you have an autoimmune disease, but is there something going on with your autoimmunity? Is there a gut infection? What has been missed? Definitely the episode I had to talk with Dr. Will Cole talking about vitamin D. So you can listen to that episode. We go into detail about some things to look for vitamin D. Another one we have is blood sugar imbalance. And we see this with people. We work with people on sleep hygiene for months, and even having disrupted sleep can impact your blood sugar the entire next day, which then impact your sex hormones. So it's really, getting what's going on with your sleep, as far as, are you having a hard time falling asleep? Are you having a hard time staying asleep? Do you have to get up to go to the bathroom? Are you snoring? Are you exposed to blue light, which many of us are with our phones, our tablets, our computer screens? So digging into the sleep piece is key to then balance blood sugar. Also, stress, chronic stress can impact your blood sugar, either at a physical stress, like we were talking about with environmental toxins, with the food sensitivities, with gut infections, and then also mental emotional stress. So really getting honest about all of those, and getting support with that, because that can impact your blood sugar, that impact your sex hormones. And the next one we see all the time is long-term hormonal birth control. Most people that were put on the pill were not put on for prevention. The ones that we're speaking with, they were put on due to, if they had irregular cycles, long cycles, heavy cycles, acne. Like there's some reason why they were put on the pill. It's a Band-Aid approach, and then they're coming off the pill, and now either the period doesn't return, or if it does, the period is irregular and heavy, and now they're struggling with infertility. And so the use of the pill is impacting your body's ability to absorb nutrients. You are eating this healthy, organic, nutrient-dense diet, but you're well-fed but undernourished. And then also it predisposes you to food sensitivities and gut infections. So the chicken and the egg thing here. So basically, we see a high percentage of people that have been on the pill. So if that's you, going to IVF and wondering why it's not working, well, maybe you're eating all the right foods, but your body's not absorbing them. That's why we use the hair tissue mineral analysis test to see exactly what your mineral status is. And minerals are the spark plugs of the body. I have a whole episode on mineral deficiency and why that's important for fertility too. So if you are on the pill, another huge flag. So another healing opportunities that were missed. Autoimmune disease. We see many people coming to us with autoimmune disease, and they've had a failed IVF. And many times people, we're not diagnosing, but we may see areas that, to have you go and work with your doctor, and it could be undiagnosed autoimmune disease. So if you have an autoimmune disease, that is a huge healing opportunity that is missed. And being able to dig into the food sensitivities, the gut infections, the chronic stress, all of this, what is the tipping point that has led to the autoimmune disease? Is it in your family? Just because it's in your family doesn't mean that you're predisposed to it. So there's lots of things to help with an autoimmune disease, starting off with the elimination diet, going to an AIP diet. I talk about the AIP diet in detail on a podcast. You can just search AIP diet and fertility. And so it's basically taking the elimination diet on steroids. It's not where we'd start right away, but for an autoimmune disease, we are looking at that. So again, a healing opportunity that has been missed. If you have a high BMI or a low BMI, body mass index, you could be, for the low BMI, you could be under fueling and over exercising. We see that a lot, where people are very restricting their calories and then doing a lot of vigorous exercise that can have people with low BMI. And then the opposite too, where overfueling, so eating too much and then dealing with excess weight and then maybe not exercising at all. So depending on, the weight thing, if this is something you struggle with your whole life, to be able to look at it from a functional standpoint, which, weight or obesity is inflammation in the body, what has been missed, food sensitivities, chronic stress, blood sugar imbalances. And it could just be that, you grew up in a household that healthy eating was not modeled to you and you're stuck in a whole drive-through processed food thing. So it's not to judge where you are. It's basically to say, wait a minute, there's things that I can do. I can take action on this. And the next one we have is a stressful job. So I see a lot of people that are working. So a lot of busy professionals that we coach in the healthcare field, lawyers, accountants, sort of left brain people. A lot of times people come to us because they like the functional testing that we do. But I coach a lot of busy professionals. So you can be in a stressful job, like working more than 50 hours. When your baby comes, where's the baby fitting into your life? So really making the time now to mother yourself. And if there's a stressful job, and say you got to quit your job, but where can you pull back? What can you just set boundaries? If you're taking work home every night, what can you do to make change on that? And then we talked about before about some trauma. So infertility in itself is traumatic. So really getting honest about that. And if you're the kind of person, kind of like me, where I was like, I wasn't crying. I didn't seem like I was a mess. On the inside, I was hoping and praying and doing everything, having my plan A, B, C, and D, but it didn't work out. So if you're in that pushing, achieving kind of mentality, to be able to give voice to these thoughts that are going on in your head. So to get help either with therapy, with coaching, EFT, emotional freedom techniques. So tapping can be very helpful to release stuck trauma. And then also there could be trauma from childhood or trauma from something else that may have happened in your life. Really getting honest about that stuff. So especially if you're the kind of person and it's like, I'm fine. And meanwhile, you're not. And then another piece of this is also a healing opportunity is like, where are you on actually feeling this in your body that it's going to work? So I think that's why a lot of times people are, and I was like this too, like pushing and achieving, and you keep moving forward, because there's to be able to visualize it working. So if you knew it would work, if you knew the soul of your baby was waiting for you right now, she or he is waiting to come into your body. Maybe the timing wasn't quite right, but it would happen, but not on your agenda. And this is hard if you are a controlling planner like me. And so if you just knew it was going to work out, how would you approach this journey differently? What would you do? I know I used to bang my head against the wall about a whole bunch of stuff. And now if you just get into the piece of like just knowing it and really looking for the signs, trusting, like just freaking trusting your intuition. Like we all have intuition. Don't let anybody let you second guess your freaking intuition. And really getting quiet with that and that's where the peace lies. Like that's where the peace lies. So these are healing opportunities where you've outsourced your body to someone else. The person in the white coat, they know your body, better than you do. Well, no, they don't. You know your body the best. To really trust yourself and hone into that piece. And that helps you, again, to move from that achieving, pushing, going, literally, contracting energy to that receiving, the feminine energy, rather that masculine energy that so many of us in the world is caught up in right now. We kind of started tilting a little bit backwards towards the middle, but it's still stuck in that doing energy. And if that's you, that's a healing opportunity for you to dig into. So, what can you do? Again, this is looking at the whole body, not just focusing on the diagnosis that you have. And so the last reason why your IVF may not have worked is that you were taking a whole bunch of generalized recommendations. So I see this all the time. Obviously we're in the land of the internet. Everything we wanted to look up is right there at our fingertips, especially for those of us with the love of learning. It can be like a slippery slope where you're like, oh, I'm just researching and looking. And then next thing you know, hours have gone by and you're overwhelmed and exhausted and you're not even sure which way to turn. But so there are these very generalized recommendations in the fertility community with specific diet recommendations. But is that diet right for you? Like, is that diet may have worked for someone else? Paleo, Whole30, vegan, plant-based, Mediterranean, those diets may have worked for someone, but is that the diet right for you? Are there seemingly healthy foods that your body's like, I don't think so, and mounting an immune response against? what's been missed on the diet. So those generalized recommendations, again, not for you. Supplements, we see people taking bags of supplements, and I was there with you, taking all kinds of supplements, not really knowing actually at all what they were for. And I take them for years, spending, thousands of dollars and still not being able to heal the root cause of what was going on with my health. And now bear in mind, I had both my kids with donor eggs, and years later I had gut infections. I had food sensitivities. I had, chronic bladder, chronic yeast, chronic sinus infections, vertigo, toenail infections, dandruff, like all acne, all these things going on. Not until I got to the root cause, which was looking at food sensitivities, figuring out my chronic stress, and really getting support. Did these things start to begin to heal? So, if you're taking bags of supplements, taking a whole bunch of herbs, doing fertility teas, essential oils, all of these, these recommendations can be good, but it's not the central focus of what you're doing. So really taking that target approach, using testing, seeing what's right for your body really fast tracks your success. And then you could be taking, especially if you have low AMH or diminished ovarian reserve, they may recommend DHEA, but your levels been tested, which we see most people levels have not been tested. Taking melatonin, which is to improve egg health and good for IVF. We see people's melatonin off the chart, which is not a good thing either. And so it impairs your body's ability to produce its own melatonin. Was your melatonin lower to begin with? So those are kind of like Band-Aid approaches. And we talk about that a lot of some of the recommendations after It Starts with the Egg, which is a great book to read, giving you a good starting point. But again, some of those recommendations can be very generalized. So we did a functional spin on It Starts with the Egg and what to do next. Definitely check out that episode. We see with the generalized recommendations, people are going gluten-free. But when I dig into it further, they're actually gluten light and even dairy free, but they're actually dairy light. Like, just don't bother, because if you're sensitive to gluten or dairy, and we're seeing from our experience working with couples, people are off the charts, as in very, very sensitive to gluten and dairy. So if you're bringing even in, they say having that cake once a month when you say you're gluten free, that's causing a reaction in your body, and you'll never, like, it's not going to work, because inflammation and the stressor, the physical stressor of a food sensitivity is coming in. So that's to really have someone to hold you accountable. We're all going to screw up. That's fine. It's not like beating anyone up. I've been, gluten-free for 10 years. It's taken me years to figure out. In the beginning, I was eating fries, and who knew that fries were sprinkled with wheat, with flour? Wouldn't think so, but apparently they are in some restaurants. Who knew that soy sauce has gluten? Well, now I know. So it hides everywhere. It hides in your personal care. It hides in your medication. So those are those kind of generalized recommendations where you're like, oh, I'm going dairy and gluten-free, but are you really? And then the big one that we see with what could be missed and why your IVF hasn't worked is it takes two. It's not just you. And I know you're the one, typically women are the ones that are researching. When I ask the couples that I'm working with, how much research are you doing? People are telling me 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week, sometimes 2, 3 hours a day. I ask the male partner, how much research are you doing? He tells me none. He'll typically say whatever she is researching, she's going to share with me, and I'll read it through her. But he's not doing his own research. So that's kind of that achiever and that love of learning, and that's great. But kind of what the detriment to yourself, because typically after reading some of those things, when I'm coaching couples and talking to them, it doesn't make them feel any better. It can be overwhelming. There can be jealousy and envy. It could be, that story may have worked for her, but will it work for me? So there are specific steps that your partner can do to improve his preconception health. Even if you're dealing with female factor infertility, it's not just about him taking a multi. There's things, we're looking at blood chemistry and then digging deeper to see if there's any kind of gut infection or food sensitivity for him. So it's stats are now showing 50-50 for female and male fertility. So lots of things for your partner to do. And most of the couples I'm speaking with, the partner is willing and able and ready to do whatever is needed. Sometimes they just don't know what they can do. It's like, well, what can they do? They're trying to be supportive. So they're providing the mental support, but then also they're equally in pain. Like they want to expand their family. They want to have their baby, and they may feel they need to be strong for you. So I did do an episode talking about how to improve your fertility by including your partner. So basically those are the three things that we're seeing as to why your IVF may have failed. So those physical and mental stressors we talked about, so food sensitivities, the environmental toxins, the gut infections, the mental emotional stress, the structural stress. Reason number 2 is some healing opportunities that are missed. The vitamin D, if it's low, well, why? Your thyroid that's been said is normal, but is it really? Blood sugar imbalance. That's then, so sleep and stress are impacting your blood sugar, and then that's impacting your sex hormones. Long-term birth control use. Autoimmune disease, that underfueling, over-exercising, that stressful job. And then the piece of, not trusting your body, not trusting yourself, and moving into that place of like, you just know what's going to happen. You just know it's going to work out. And then that's where you can kind of release the pressure. If you knew it was all going to work out, you wouldn't have the panic. You wouldn't have the sleepless nights. You just knew that your baby was there waiting. So our proven protocol can help improve the success of your next IVF. As the clinics are starting to reopen, a lot of them have quite a long backlog. So now is the perfect time to focus on your preconception health for both you and your partner. So our Fab Fertile method, we look at functional testing. So we're talking about food sensitivity testing, stool testing, looking at the DNA of your stool, hormone testing, looking at your hormones using urine, seeing which pathways they're going down, tissue mineral analysis testing, are you well fed but undernourished? So looking at those minerals, blood chem review, basically to educate, not to diagnose, what has been missed when we look at these through functional reference ranges. So using those 4 tests plus the blood chem review and really taking that targeted action plan. The method includes the foundational pillars. So the diet that's right for you, sleep, really digging into sleep for both you and your partner, movement, making sure you're not either over exercising or under exercising, stress, really getting honest about your stress. And you cannot, I've got people, jumping through the Zoom screen at me demanding supplements, and you can't out supplement the basics. If you haven't, dialed in the diet, sleep, movement, and stress, supplements are not going to fix that. And even though supplements are part of our protocol, it is not the main focus. It's those foundational pillars are key. And then looking at, again, reducing those stressors. So again, it's the food sensitivity, a gut infection, environmental toxin, if something's coming in at you that's causing inflammation in your body. And we're all exposed to these toxins. Just an episode talking about heavy metals and how we're all exposed to toxins. And some of us are more sensitive than others. The mental emotional stress, the structural stress, if you got that pinched nerve. And then our Fab Fertile method includes your partner. It's couples coaching. And so if that is feeling right for you. So our next steps, so if you're planning another IVF, so it takes an average of 3 cycles at a cost of $60,000. So that's a huge financial output of money. So our program, obviously there's an investment, but it'll either help you get pregnant naturally or improve your success at your next IVF. So to me, there is no downside to focusing on your health to prepare a solid preconception health for both you and your partner, a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby, a healthy postpartum period, digging into this, like why is it not working? And why is medication, seemingly our next logical step when there's lots of, as we say, these healing opportunities that have been missed. So if it feels right for you, you can go to Fab Fertile, F-A-B Fertile, click on book a free call. This call is for you and your partner, and we can chat about a plan that can help you improve your success at your next IVF or help you get pregnant naturally. So take care. Melatonin is important for female fertility. It helps regulate hormones and maintain the body's circadian rhythms. Plus, it helps determine the frequency and duration of the menstrual cycle. Plus, it impacts sperm count and motility. Blue and green light negatively impact our melatonin production. That's why we recommend Blue Blocks, blue and green light sleep glasses to all our one-to-one clients. Simply go to BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com and use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast at checkout to receive your 15% discount. That's BlueBlocks, BLUBLOX.com, and use the coupon code GetPregnantPodcast. Hey there, I regularly speak with 5 to 10 couples per week who are struggling to have their baby. And although we want to help everyone, we only have 2 spots available per month to work with us. So the Supercharge Your Fertility Discovery call is for action takers. really people who are ready to move forward so they can finally have their baby. And if you're not ready and you wait, the risk is you'll need to wait 2 to 3 months for a spot to open up. So if you're seriously considering working with us, go to FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. Then you'll be all booked in and ready to spend 30 minutes to give you the action plan to getting pregnant naturally. That's FabFertile, FabFertile.com and click on book a free call. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you are a U.S. resident, text Fertile, Fertile to 55444. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you will receive our Fertility Yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to our heart. These simple yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. For U.S. residents, text Fertile, Fertile to 55444. For non-U.S. residents, go to Yoga Freebie, Freebie, to access your special gift. That's yogafreebie.com to access the free Fertility Yoga download. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.